Hello, I am here at saltash.net Community School. I will be talking to the famous linguist Noam Chomsky about his theory of language acquisitions in relation to the study of children.
Hello, Rachel. It's good to be here and help those who are studying language acquisition with different theories that will help them with their studies and possibly their futures.
So, Mr. Chomsky, can I call you Noam?
You are very welcome to do so, Rachel.
So your theory is mainly based on the study of innateness, am I correct?
You certainly are.
Would you be able to explain your theory of innateness?
Certainly. I focused particularly on the impoverished language input. That is because I believe that adults do not typically speak in grammatically complete sentences, and in addition what the child hears is only a small sample of language. I also think that children must have an inborn faculty for language acquisition.
So what you're saying is that the process is biologically determined?
Yes, the human species have evolved a brain whose neural circuits contain linguistic information at birth, so the child's natural predisposition to learn language is triggered by hearing speech, and the child's brain is able to interpret what he or she hears according to the underlying principles or structures it already contains. All human languages share common principles, such as they all have words for things and actions, nouns and verbs, and in theory it is the child's unconscious mental task to establish how the specific language he or she hears expresses these underlying principles.
So let me get this straight so far. Your theory is that babies are born with an innate knowledge of the structure of language. All language share the same basic structure, and this speeds up their learning of their native language when they hear it. When they hear examples, they fit these into their unconscious mental model of how language works, which is called language acquisition device, or LAD.
So far, yes, that is my theory. I believe that the LAD already contains the concept of the verb tense. Just by listening to such forms as worked, played, and patted, the child will form the hypothesis that the past tense of verbs is formed by adding the sound da, to, or id, to the base form. However, this in turn will lead to the virtuous errors mentioned before. This is because the process is unconscious. I do not envisage the small child lying in its cot working out grammatical rules continuously.
That would be slightly painstaking for the little child.
Agreed.
The things that have been spoken today weren't all your original views, were they?
No, you're correct there, Rachel. My original view on the theory was that LAD contained specific knowledge about language.
Other linguists have had a slight input to the innateness theory, such as Daniel Saxiobin.
Yes, Daniel Saxiobin did have some proposed ideas, such as that it may be more like a mechanism for working out the rules of language.
Daniel Saxiobin has even said,
"It seems to me that the child is born not with a set of linguistic categories but with some sort of process mechanism, a set of procedures and inference rules, if you will, that he or she uses to process linguistic data. These mechanisms are such that, applying them to input the data, the child ends up with something which is a member of the class of human languages. The linguistic universals, then, are the result of an innate cognitive competence rather than the content of such competence."
What do you think?
Difficult question to answer, because all linguists have their own views on things and might not agree on things that other linguists say. However, I am able to understand where he is coming from.
Is there any things that students need to be looking out for in the data that they might be studying?
Of course there is, such as children doing more than simply imitating adult speech. For example, semantic overextension and overgeneralization suggest that children are actively constructing language according to an unconscious model of how language works, LAD. Or children resisting or simply not responding to correction from adults, or children making up new names for things, or even children forming new tenses they've never heard anyone else say. Can't just be imitating but must actively constructing sentences using their implicit knowledge of the rules, LAD.
that seems to be all we have time for today. Thank you for your time, noam.
It was my pleasure.
This is Rachel reporting for Extra Normal News.